I seek refuge with Allah from the accursed Satan. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Dear friends, it is said that fear is hidden inside every human. Some are afraid of the dark, while others fear desolate paths and the feeling of unseen things. But there was one boy who was not afraid of anything. He set out in search of fear, but nothing frightened him. Finally, one day, he found fear. Dear friends, this is a very old story. In a region of Turkey, there was a dense forest where a mother and her son lived in a small hut. There was neither a village there nor any neighbors, just mysterious silence. One winter evening, the mother and son were sitting and talking when suddenly a storm rose, and the strong wind flung open the hut's weak door. The rustling of the wind was producing a strange but terrifying sound. Hearing that sound, the woman was startled. She trembled and began to look over her shoulder as if some terrifying thing was standing behind her. With great panic and fear, she said to her son, "Son, go quickly and close the door. I am feeling afraid." Her son said, "Fear? What is that, mother? What does it mean to feel afraid?" The mother replied, "Get up and close the door. I just feel fear. It's merely a sensation that suddenly enters the heart, and one doesn't even know why." The boy said in surprise, "That is a very strange thing. Fear should be visible. Mother, I will travel the world and search for fear until I face it myself." The next morning, while his mother had not yet risen from bed, the boy stepped out of his hut and set off in search of fear. But he had no idea where this journey would lead him. He wandered the entire day through forests and fields, and a little before evening he reached a mountain and began to climb it. Near the peak of the mountain, in a desolate place, he saw some people gathered around a fire. He sat down and saw them. Their laughter was echoing far off after bouncing off the rocks. They were all dangerous bandits. Due to walking the whole day, the boy was now tired. He was hungry and shivering from the cold. When he saw the light of the fire, he became very happy and started walking toward the light until he reached close to them and said, "Peace be upon you all." After saying this, he sat among the bandits as if he had known them for ages. He went near the fire, so close that his feet almost touched the burning logs. The bandits forgot their conversations and started looking at each other in surprise, then fixed angry stares at the boy. Finally, their chief said, "No caravan dares to come here. Even birds stay away from us. Who are you that came and sat fearlessly among us?" The boy replied. "I'm looking for exactly that. Will you help me? I have left my home in search of fear. Maybe you people can show me fear." The leader of the bandits said angrily, "Foolish boy, wherever we are, there lies fear." The boy replied, "But I don't see anything." Then the chief of the bandits said, "Just wait a bit, we will show you what fear is. Take this pot and flour. At the foot of the mountain there is a graveyard. Go there. You will find firewood there. Go and make arrangements for our dinner." The boy, who had already driven away the cold well with the warmth of the fire, stood up happily, hung the pot over his arm, and started descending the mountain. After reaching the graveyard, he gathered firewood and lit a fire. Then he filled water from a small stream flowing nearby and started kneading the flour. Now he placed a big stone over the fire and began to make flatbreads. In just a short while, when the breads were fully cooked, he dug a little dirt to extinguish the fire. At that very moment, a hand emerged from a nearby grave and a voice said, "Did you make this food for me?" The boy laughed and replied, "Do you think I will give food meant for the living to the dead?" Saying this, he struck the dead man's hand with a spoon and said, "Go back, you are dead." Then he picked up the flatbreads and, whistling, began walking back toward the mountain. When he returned, the leader of the bandits began asking him, "Now tell us, did you find fear?" The boy replied, "No, was there any fear? All I saw was a hand that came out of a grave. It tried to snatch the breads from me. He taught it a good lesson and struck the hand hard with the spoon, and the hand disappeared. After all, do the dead ever ask for food?" Hearing this, the bandits began staring at each other with wide eyes, and the boy happily sat down near the fire. Finally, one of the bandits said, "On the other side of the mountain, there is a deep pond. Go there, surely. You will find fear along the way." The boy replied, "Really? If that's so, I'll go right now." Saying this, he began walking toward the pond. Soon he reached the place where a pond glimmered under the moonlight. As soon as he approached it, he saw a long swing hanging directly over the pond. On that swing was a child crying bitterly. The boy thought, "This swing is in such a strange place, but why is the child crying?" He was just about to approach him when a young girl came running and said, "I want to get my little brother off the swing, but the swing is so high I can't even touch it. If you stand at the edge of the pond and I climb onto your shoulders, maybe I can reach him." The boy cheerfully said, "Yes, of course, I'll help you." As soon as the girl climbed onto his shoulders, instead of taking the child off the swing, she tightly locked her feet around the boy's neck on both sides. He felt that either he would die from suffocation or he would fall into the water below. But then he gathered all his strength and, with a strong jerk, pushed the girl backward. As soon as she fell to the ground, a bangle slipped from her arm, which the boy picked up. He said to himself, "This is fine too. I'll keep this bangle as a memory of all the strange incidents that happened to me since I left home." Then he turned to look at the child. There was no swing there and no child. By then the first rays of morning had begun to appear in the sky. Tying the bangle around his arm, he walked toward a small town situated on the other side of the mountain. He was hungry and thirsty, and as soon as he entered the central street of the town, a terrifying-looking man stood in front of him. He said, "Where did you get this bangle from?" "This is mine." The boy replied, "No, this is mine." That frightening man angrily said, "This isn't yours, give it to me or something terrible will happen to you." Then the boy said, "Let's go to a judge and tell him our story. If he rules in your favor, it's yours, and if he rules in mine, then I'll keep it." The man agreed to this and dragged the boy toward the court. They both reached the court, where the judge was delivering justice. The judge listened to both of them and then gave the verdict. Neither of the claimants has proven that. "The bangle belongs to him. Therefore it shall remain with me until its pair, that is, the second bangle, is presented." Hearing this, the two of them looked at each other in astonishment, their eyes seeming to ask, "Judge Sahib, where are we supposed to find the second bangle?" But the judge's verdict was firm. So they both lowered their heads and walked out of the court. The terrifying man went back to his home while the boy continued on his journey. Wandering aimlessly, the boy eventually found himself at the edge of the sea. Some distance away, he saw a ship sinking into the water. On the deck of the ship, the sailors were screaming in fear and calling for help. The boy heard their cries and asked, "Have you encountered fear?" "I am in search of it." Amidst the roar of the waves, the sailors' voices echoed, "We are about to drown. Death is near, and we feel fear from this deep water." Hearing this, the boy thought, "So fear is hiding here in the water." Then he said to the sailors, "Give me a rope." He tied one end of the rope to his body and the other to the edge of the ship, then dove into the sea. He kept going deeper and deeper until his feet finally settled on a rock at the bottom of the ocean. When he looked around underwater, he saw a sea fairy with a cunning face and a shimmering body. She was pulling a chain with all her strength. The chain was tied to the ship, and she was slowly dragging it down into the water. The boy immediately grabbed the fairy's arms with both hands, forced her to release the chain. With the help of a knife, he cut the chain. As soon as the chain broke, the ship stopped sinking and began floating on the surface of the sea again. The sailors steered it away from the rocks. Then he tied the sea fairy to a heavy stone. She looked at the boy in astonishment, her eyes wide with disbelief. As he left, he said goodbye to the fairy and swam back to the shore where his bundle of clothes was still lying. The young man quickly changed his clothes and continued his journey in search of fear. After a while, he arrived at a beautiful house with a shady garden filled with fragrant flowers. In the middle of the garden, a clear and pure stream flowed. He was now very tired, so he entered the garden and sat beneath a bush heavy with fragrant blooms. Soon, he fell asleep. Suddenly, the fluttering of wings and the splash of water droplets woke him up. He cautiously lifted his head and saw 3 doves diving into the stream. They were happily splashing water, they were fluttering their wings, and then dove into the deep waters of the stream, disappearing beneath its surface. When they reappeared, they were no longer doves, but 3 beautiful girls, carrying a table made of pearls between them. They set the table down and placed beautiful goblets on it. Then one of the girls filled a goblet, and as she brought it near her lips, the second girl stopped her and asked, "Whose health and life are you toasting with this drink?" The first girl replied, "To the young man who prepared bread in the graveyard, and when I stretched out my hand from beneath the ground, he struck it with a spoon. Yet unlike others, he showed no fear at all." Then the second girl was asked, "And you, whose name are you drinking to?" She replied, "To the young man on whose shoulders I climbed by the lake and who shook me off so forcefully that I lay unconscious on the ground for hours. He was very brave, completely unafraid." Then both turned to the third girl and asked, "And you, who are you drinking to?" she said. "In the depths of the sea I had seized a ship and was violently shaking and pulling it. I was close to drowning it. I was furious then. My face had changed completely, and with the chain in my hands I was about to commit evil. But a young man came who freed the ship and tied me to a rock. He was truly fearless. I am drinking to his health and life." After saying this, the three of them quietly raised their goblets and took a silent sip. As soon as they set their goblets down, the young man stood up and faced them. He said, "I am the very same young man for whom you all raised your glasses. Now, give me the other bangle, the matching pair of the precious one I found near the lake. I am certain that one of you dropped it, and a man tried to snatch it from me. But now the matter lies with the judge, who has ruled that the bangle shall remain with him until its pair is brought forth. I have been wandering for days in search of this bangle, and I am exhausted." Hearing this, the three girls said, "Come with us." They led him into a large palace-like building with hallways that opened into many rooms, each room more splendid than the last. Then one of the girls walked over to a chest overflowing with gold and jewels. From it she lifted a bangle, identical in every way to the one the boy had found. It was in the Qazi's custody. Then the girl slipped the bangle onto the young man's arm and said, "Go quickly and show this to the Qazi. He will give you the other bangle too." The young man replied, "I will never forget you, but perhaps we may never meet again, for I will not rest until I see fear face to face." Then he departed, retrieved the second bangle from the Qazi, and once again set off in search of fear. He kept walking, never stopping, never looking back. One day, he arrived at a large city, where all the streets and marketplaces were bustling with people. He passed through an alley so crowded that he could hardly make his way through. He asked a man nearby, "Why are so many people gathered here?" The man replied, "The ruler of this land has died, and since he left no heir, a new king must be chosen. Every day, a sacred dove is released from this tower, and whoever's head it lands upon will become our king. In a few moments the dove will be released. You should stay and see what happens." All eyes turned to the tower at the heart of the city. As the sun rose, the tower's door opened, and a beautiful multicolored dove emerged, circling overhead. Then it flew straight down and landed on the young man's head. The crowd erupted in cheers. Long live the king! But instead of joy, the young man felt something stir inside him. He began questioning himself. If I become king, what then? In his thoughts, he saw himself upon the throne, spending his life trying to make the poor rich, to bring joy to the sorrowful, to turn the wicked toward goodness, to uphold justice. But he would never succeed, because these are not easy tasks. He thought to himself, I'll never be able to live by my own will again. I'll never walk freely, never be alone again. He began to cry out, hiding his face in his hands. The people, hearing his cries, thought he couldn't believe his good fortune. Some said, "Look, the boy doesn't believe it. Let's release more doves to confirm." So they released more doves, but each one followed the first and landed only on the young man's shoulder. Now the crowd's chants grew even louder. As he heard the cheers, a cold shiver ran through his body, a feeling he had never known before. Stood lost in thought when an old man stepped out of the crowd, leaned close and whispered in his ear, "Son, you've faced deadly bandits, the undead of graveyards, and monstrous creatures, but your heart never trembled. Yet now, when they declared you king, you saw the weight of responsibility, the burden of power, and the loss of your freedom. Son, this is the fear you've been searching for all this time." Hearing this, the young man began to reflect. A throne may be mine now, but it is the greatest test of all. He realized that while he would have power and strength, he would one day be held accountable for it. And so he accepted his destiny, knowing that the rest of his life would now be lived in the company of fear, Sayyiduna Siddiq Akbar, may Allah be pleased with him, used to say, "I wish I were a bird, flying from one tree to another, resting on branches, so that I would not have to." Give account on the Day of Judgment. Dear friends, this is the power of true faith. It awakens within a person the fear and awareness that one day they must stand before their Creator, Allah Rabbul Izzat, and give account for how they spent their life. Each moment must be lived with purpose, each second treated as precious. If you found value in this video, kuchi.